Jerry, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Very excited. Can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and who are Smooth Dubai?
Yes, sure. So my name is Jerry Williams. I'm a chartered accountant originally. Well, I suppose I still am a chartered accountant, but originally set up a UK accounting firm back in 2016. That's done very well, and the team has grown kind of over time. And then in 2022, I moved to Dubai with my husband and my two children and set up Smooth Dubai.
Yeah.
So, effectively, a kind of UAE branch, or if you like, of the original Smooth that I already had, but with a focus on kind of company setups, relocations for business owners, and then naturally accounts and tax and everything else.
Fabulous. So, what kind of inspired you to form the organisation in Dubai?
So initially, I didn't have any intentions to set up a UAE business.
Yep.
So the plan was we will move to Dubai for a couple of years, have a wonderful time, have an adventure with the kids. And I absolutely was not planning on setting up a business. But you know what it's like in
Yep.
Dubai, and it is very much the land of opportunity, I
Yep.
think. And I was here and started chatting to people, started chatting to business owners. And those conversations basically led me into having what is now Smooth Dubai, because there were people saying, can you do our accounts? You know, you've set up out there, can you help us set up? And I initially was like, maybe. I've not done it before. And they were like, oh, well, just let us know if it's something you can do. And,
It happens here though, doesn't it? Because it's like the
literally.
land of networking here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is how it kind of spirals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And like, I think back now to those early days and those conversations
Yeah.
of me going, and then going, yeah, sure. And I'm the type of person that I will kind of grab any opportunity if it comes
Yeah.
my way. I generally don't turn things away, and kind of whiz forward, almost 3 years, and Smooth Dubai has just grown just to a crazy level, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey, but yeah, the inspiration for starting it, I guess, was purely just those conversations with business owners and people saying to me, just need help.
Yes.
Just really don't know what to do and how to do it. And I had done it kind of all myself. I'd set up my own business. I'd relocated my family, moved out here. And so I was able to help people not just on a business level, but on more of a personal level, because not only do we offer this as a service, and this comes up quite a lot now, is that people come to me, they know that Smooth Dubai can help them, but they also know that Jerry's done it herself as well. So
that's so important that you've
Yeah.
actually had the journey here as well,
Yeah.
and to do it for sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happened, and then whiz forward, and now it's just busy.
Very, very busy. So you talked about people saying, help, I don't know
Yes.
kind of where to go with this. What would you say are the main kind of challenges organisations face when they're looking to relocate? Because let's face it, we've said it's the land of opportunity.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to be wanting to be in Dubai right now.
Yes. Yeah.
But they might not know what tax implications, for example, there are.
Yes.
How do you work with those kind of challenges?
Yeah. So it's usually a bit of a journey. And I think a lot of business owners in the UK kind of have an idea that they want to maybe move to Dubai. And at that point, we generally get involved. And at that point, we will say, what's your situation with tax? And the tax consultancy piece for me is the most important piece.
Yes.
The rest of it in terms of setting up a business, physically moving here, getting visas, and then us doing accounts and things like that is the easier part, I think. The initial bit is people don't understand how this is going to affect my tax situation. And it is complicated.
It's more complicated than you think. Because I think people think Dubai, it's tax-free.
Yes.
It's not quite the case,
not
is
quite
it?
the case, no. And also, so just on that point, it's not completely tax-free. We have 9% corporate tax now. So from a personal perspective, it is tax-free, which is great. But companies need to pay tax at 9%. There are a few exceptions and reliefs that you can get. So not everyone's necessarily going to pay that. But generally speaking, if you think kind of worst case scenario, 9% corporate tax.
There's a threshold, isn't there, with that 9% for organisations?
Absolutely, yeah. So that. But also I think people the personal tax side of it is the tricky bit is the UK. So I always say to people, like, kind of don't worry about Dubai, because Dubai is easy in that respect. You know, there is no personal tax, because people sort of go, how can I get tax resident in Dubai? And how many days do I need to spend in Dubai to be tax resident? And they're always so Dubai focused. And I go, Dubai is not the concern.
Yes, it's the other
The
way.
UK is the concern, okay? Because the UK is really hard to become non-resident.
Yes.
Just because you have tax residency in Dubai, because you've met their requirements and you are tax resident, does not mean that you are not tax resident in the UK. So one doesn't cancel out the other. And what we're seeing is business owners thinking that, oh, it's fine, I'll just spend 90 days in Dubai and get my kind of tax residency certificate. Where are you the other 9 months of the year? Okay, because that is the issue. It's not Dubai.
You're right, because you actually only need to really come in twice a year, don't you, when you've got a visa here?
Yes, yeah.
But it's actually the other way when you think about it. It's actually the UK that's the hardest part.
Yeah, absolutely. And the coming here twice a year, depending on what type of visa you have. I mean, if you have I have a golden visa and I don't have that requirement. But if you're on an employee visa, you have to come here once every 6 months to maintain that visa. But that's residency, and that's nothing to do with tax. And this is where people get confused, because they go, well, I am resident in Dubai. And I go, I am resident in Dubai, but I am taxed on my worldwide income in the UK, because that's where I live. Okay, most of the time. So even though I am back and forth and I very much split my time between the UK and Dubai, I am still tax resident in the UK. So it's just getting people to kind of be aware, I think, at the outset, that the tax planning around your personal tax, which is so incredibly high in the UK, that is fundamental to your move to Dubai. Because if you get it wrong by one day, you will be taxed on your worldwide income in the UK, even if you've moved to another country. So that side of it, I kind of try and stress, like, even if you don't use us, it's not that. It's please understand how that will affect you and get that right.
Yes.
And the rest will follow.
Yeah. That is vitally important.
Yes.
Vitally important. So let's talk about Smooth Dubai services.
Yes.
What services do you offer, and how are you different to other firms that are in Dubai?
Yes. So the main thing that we offer is company formation. So generally speaking, that would be either a free zone in the UAE or a mainland company. And that's the bit that we focus a lot on, and our team have kind of been doing over the last few years. So company formation is the big one, and getting visas. So usually an employee visa, sometimes a golden visa, depends on people's needs, wants and circumstances. And then once the company is set up, we do the accounts and the tax and the VAT and the bookkeeping and everything that they need for that company. That kind of naturally follows on. But it's the kind of company setup side. And I suppose in terms of how we're different, I think, you know, my UK accounting firm is different in that we are very hand-holding with our clients. You know, we really do go above and beyond and help them every step of the way. And it's the same now with the Dubai side of the business, is that there are a lot of firms out there that will do company setup and things like that. But for us, that's more of an admin thing. And for us, it's actually about managing the client's kind of journey. You know, it's not just well, here's your company, kind of off you go. It's more about really understanding what they're trying to achieve. And every business owner is different. And I think what's right for me is not necessarily right for you and right for somebody else. So understanding, right, this is your current situation. What's the long-term plans? What are you trying to achieve? Rather than if someone comes to us and says, Jerry, can you set me up a free zone company? I'm a consultant. I could turn around and go, yeah, sure. Like, this is the fee and done. But actually it's like, okay, hang on. What's your situation? What are you currently doing? What are you trying to do? You know, and it's just kind of understanding people's goals and
it
helping
goes beyond
them.
relocation.
Yes,
it goes your service goes beyond. There you go. There's your business. It's formed. Off you go. Have a nice life.
Exactly. And it's a completely unknown territory for most people. So, you know, moving countries is a massive deal.
Huge.
You know, absolutely huge. I've done it. You've done it. You know what it's like. And I think people will have questions, and so often I get, oh, I'm sorry if I'm being stupid, or sorry if this is a silly question, and I go, there's no silly questions.
No silly questions.
It doesn't matter.
No. Not when you're doing something this big, and you're probably moving a family.
Literally.
You're rooting everybody, aren't you?
Yeah. You know, you've got kids, you've got schooling, there's so much to consider. So I think, you know, it doesn't matter if you've got 1,000 questions. Ultimately, we are here to make it as stress-free as possible,
Yeah.
so that you can focus on other things. You know, people have got businesses to run, and just the whole logistics of moving countries is
Yeah.
hard. So
It
yeah.
really is. So typically, how long does it take to form to form a business?
So if we're looking at a free zone company, we generally say 6 weeks from start to finish. So that's from setting the company up, which generally takes about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Getting the entrance permits issued, which is step one of your visa,
Yeah.
usually another 2 weeks. And then once you land in Dubai, getting your visa finalised, getting your Emirates ID, which is your like ID card that everyone has in Dubai, usually another 2 weeks. So we usually say 6 weeks from start to finish. We can't guarantee because quite often we're dealing with immigration. So, it's a little bit outside of our control, and we've got Ramadan starting on Saturday. So that will slow things down for kind of the month of March. So we give that as an indication. The actual company setup can take, 1 to 2 weeks. It can be done really quickly, but it's all the other bits that obviously take a bit longer.
Yeah. So do you tend to deal with organisations that are talking about moving to Dubai? They're not going, I'm here, help, I need to set a business up. People being a bit more proactive in that move.
Yeah, sometimes. So sometimes, I am setting up companies now with people that I spoke to 3 years ago. Who are like, right, we're ready to go, because it sometimes it's like, or I'm having conversations now with people go, oh, I'm probably not going to move for sort of 3 to 5 years, but I just want to understand, so there can be quite a really lengthy delay between someone having an idea to move to Dubai and actually moving. And then you get the other end of the spectrum where people are like, my flight is booked, I'm going on Saturday, I'm not coming back, can you set everything up? And it's like, but we can, of course we can. We are, there are constraints that we can't get around sometimes, but we always do our best. So with the company setup stuff, it really can be anywhere on that line between just an idea to I've already gone. But with the accounting side that we do, it's usually people that already have an established business in the UAE, so they've been living here, they don't need any company set up, they just need an accountant, a tax advisor, and they come to us.
Got you. So if they've got a business in the UK, can they then transfer the business over into the UAE, for example, or is it another complete reset of a new business?
It's not black and white, and it's complicated. So generally you can't just cease a business in the UK that's already established and just set it up again. There will be tax implications of doing that. You're disposing of a business if you do that, which will trigger a tax charge. There's ways and means of doing it. We generally say if you've got existing contracts with clients via a UK company, they have to run their course. And if you're taking on brand new clients, of course, there's nothing to stop you once you're in Dubai putting those through a new UAE company. So it's just about being sensible, I think, and realistic with how you manage that. And we help clients with this all the time because, again, it's the unknown. What do I do? I've got a UK business. Now I'm in Dubai. What do I do? We have some people that don't want to get rid of their UK business. They want to keep it. So it's like, okay, let's talk about that because you can't just wipe out your tax bill.
Yes.
You're not allowed to do that. So it's just about depending on people's situation, kind of managing that properly and not falling foul of the tax law, which is really important.
Absolutely. So what would you say are some of the most common misconceptions about moving to Dubai? Because they see tax-free. What about some of the other implications, regulations and things like that?
So, I mean, there's a few. Just to touch on the tax side and the kind of misconceptions to start with would be, firstly, that you can set up a business in the UAE and not pay tax when you live in the UK. Like, it's just not a thing. And imagine if it was a thing. No one would pay tax in the UK, right? So just from a common sense perspective, it's like, you absolutely cannot just set the business up, stay in the UK and not pay tax. But also people going, well, I'm always going to Dubai. I go to Dubai like a few times a year on holiday. So, I'll be there enough to kind of manage it. From Dubai, I'm like, doesn't work like that. Again,
it doesn't work like that.
If it were possible, no one would pay tax in the UK, right? It's hard to achieve that. You do need to usually need to move to Dubai yourself.
Yes.
The other misconception about tax is that free zones will not pay tax. Okay, free zone companies. For anyone that doesn't know, there are two different types of company you can set up in the UAE: a free zone company or a mainland company.
Yeah.
Free zone companies generally are quicker and easier to set up and usually more cost effective. But you can't trade with the mainland in Dubai. So if you have a free zone company, you can't have mainland customers unless you go via a third party. So for example, if you were selling shoes, right, if you set up a free zone company and you want to deliver those shoes to mainland customers, and when I say mainland, I mean anywhere that's not a free zone.
Yes.
You would need a third party to deliver those shoes. So you could still do it, but it's just how you do it. And the misconception is that free zone companies do not pay tax. That's not true. If you are a qualifying free zone, then you possibly will not pay the 9% tax. But in order to be a qualifying free zone, it's quite difficult. Most free zone companies will be paying 9% tax. Is just, there are too many things, too many kind of qualifying rules, if you like, that you need to meet to get a 0% tax rate. So yeah, they're the main tax ones. And then I think in terms of other things, business activity is really important.
Yeah.
So what you do, because what you do will just dictate maybe which free zone you go to.
Yeah.
Whether it's a regulated activity. People don't realise that a lot of activities are regulated, which means it's not just a case of setting up a business and off you go.
Yeah.
It's set up a business, but also you need to get a licence from
which is so important, isn't it?
So important, because the last thing you want to do is be trading and then get fines, get shut down.
Yeah.
Because you've done it wrong, you know?
Of course.
So it's that kind of thing as well we see sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're looking at kind of trends of people moving over, are you seeing any kind of trends in the marketplace? For example, I'll use the UK because we're from the UK. Lots of taxation, lots of things going up with tax, private schools and things like that. So are you seeing any trends with people moving over here?
I think maybe it's not such a trend, but just volume of people. Since I've been doing this,
it's crazy. The roads will tell you it's crazy. The construction level still tells you it's crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the swarms of people that are just understandably not happy in the UK and want a better quality of life. I'm moving to Dubai, and I get it. You know, I did it. I moved back to the UK for kind of personal family reasons, but if those were not a thing, I absolutely would never have left. Yeah. You know, because it is just a better quality of life, in my opinion, and safer, cleaner, weather, tax. I mean, you could go on and on and on, but it's just such an incredible place to live and to raise a family, I think. And that's not me absolutely hating on the UK, because I don't hate the UK. And in fact, I am quite happy living back in the UK. I get to come to Dubai. I get to come here. I get to come here all the time. So it's an absolutely a first world problem. But you know, and I'm with my family and everything. But it's just, the reality is swarms of people are moving and leaving the UK and leaving other countries.
And it's also worth pointing out, it's incredibly competitive now, isn't it? Incredibly. You've really got to make yourself stand out.
Yes, you absolutely have. And I think, I mean, I'm a massive advocate for marketing, despite the fact that I have never had any marketing training.
I think you're doing pretty well with your amazing following on LinkedIn.
Thank you. But obviously, you know, you're a marketer, you know what it's like. But I think marketing is so incredibly important. If you're moving to Dubai or you're setting up a business in Dubai, you're right, it is competitive. And it is very much kind of who you know, and putting yourself out there to meet people, make business relationships. You know, it's just so important.
It is definitely. And on a final note, any advice you can give for people or businesses that are wanting to locate to Dubai?
Do your research. Okay, there's so much information available, and people that are willing to help. We've got some free resources on our website, but I think do your research. Okay, it's a big move. Yes, it's a worthwhile move, in my opinion, and you just want to get it right. And I think it's not something to maybe take lightly, although it's very easy, I think, to move to somewhere like Dubai, because they make it easy for people. They want people moving here, right? I still think just be informed. You know, get advice, speak to a specialist, or even friends or anyone you know that's already done it, you know, because that's what I did. I spoke to people I made friends with people that had already done it,
Yeah.
you know, and they told me so much. And I was like, wow, I didn't know all this stuff,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm also writing a book, which I've almost finished, about how to move to Dubai for business owners.
Perfect.
So that, I think I've just filled it with every single thing I can think of that would be useful information. But it's things like that. Just do your research and get informed.
Definitely. And the other side of that is people will go, oh, I've come to Dubai on holiday for 4 times this year. They don't realise there is no real welfare state. There is no medical, there's no NHS.
Nope.
Schooling has to be paid for.
Yep.
There's all of these different implications that you need to bear in mind when you're making the move, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head. You know, yes, okay, there's no tax, no personal tax, and only 9% corporate tax, which is amazing. But you pay for everything in Dubai.
You do.
You know, so just be aware, you know, in terms of budgeting, that you are going to have to pay for healthcare. You are going to have to pay for, you know, private health insurance. You are going to have to pay for schooling, you know, and everything, all the things. You know, I remember like my sons love football, so we put them into a football academy, and I remember finding out how much that was and being like, no, don't get me wrong, we paid it and they loved it and it was great, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. But just in comparison, when I think, oh, in the UK, you know, I think I pay like £10 a month or something for them to go to, but it's all voluntary in the UK, and out here it's a business, right?
It is, of course.
So it's just being aware that all the things that you're going to want to do, they cost money, and they might not cost money when you live back in the UK. So yeah, I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. Jerry, thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. For more information regarding Smooth Dubai, you can visit the website smoothdubai.ae. I'm the Middle East marketer. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Desert Dialogues, and be sure to give us a like and follow on LinkedIn.